Hey everybody, we are here tonight at Janine and Amy's Travel TV Live. We're hopping across the pond and visiting England and Scotland. And I don't know why, I'm having a hard time saying hello tonight. Usually I'm much smoother, Amy. I don't know what's wrong with me. So let's start again.
You haven't been well, Janine, so I'm going to cut you some slack this afternoon, so it's okay.
So we're going to say hello because you found your way to Janine and Amy's Travel TV Live, and we are super excited to welcome our friend David Tobin from Dream Escape. And David is live in Edinburgh, and it was so nice to stay awake and come and talk to us.
Well, it's fine. I've been up since very early this morning, but staying awake for you guys is no problem.
That's excellent. And we all know, you all know that Amy and I are dying to travel, and we know you are dying to travel too. And until we can, we are going to continue to travel around the world, visiting our friends like David and talking about travel. So before we really begin, I want to say hello to my co-host, Amy. How are you, Amy?
I'm good, Janine. How are you today?
I'm good.
Feeling better?
Feeling better, thank you.
All right, good, good, good. Those little rugrats we live with bring that stuff home from school, don't they? What's up with that?
I agree.
So, welcome to Janine and Amy's Travel Experiences and our fabulous guest tonight from across the pond, David. So David, we have a question that we ask all our guests before we get started. So when the world opens again and we are able to travel anywhere we want to go, what's going to be the first place you go?
Well, it will be, it is domestic really for us. And it's because during lockdown, the original lockdown that we had in the UK, I bought a voucher for Belmont. And Holly and I have fairly religiously gone to Le Manoir 4 Saisons in Oxfordshire every so often. And we're desperate to go back there and see Raymond Blanc and everything else, you know. So that's the first thing on the line. Apart from that, I think everyone's looking for escapism in terms of, you know, somewhere where there's not so many people. So we're going to try and find a spot, and probably after a Scottish English winter, somewhere like the Maldives is probably the most appealing place at this point. But whether we'll make it there, the kids would go bananas if they found out that we'd gone and not taken them. So we'll have to keep it quite quiet.
Maybe you can sneak out in the middle of the night.
Well, I think so. Possibly.
So we have a lot of questions. You shared a ton of fabulous pictures with us because I know Dream Escape just creates the most beautiful trips with incredible experiences, really things that you cannot find on your own, and really just one of a kind experience.
That's it.
But I think the first thing we'd like to know is what's happening in Edinburgh. What does it look like on the ground? We know that Americans are not welcome in most European countries right now, but what is actually happening there in terms of people?
Sure, I think that from a tourism perspective, obviously it's very quiet. From an activity perspective, the city hotels, very much like London and Dublin, are suffering from very low occupancy at this point. But as soon as you get outside and into the countryside, certainly into the Scottish Highlands, you'll find some of the 4- and 5-star hotels they have 95% occupancy.
Wow.
And it's because people want the space. They want to go for long walks. They want to take the kids out either fishing or playing golf or foraging, but just have some space, because you know, when you think about the population density of cities, be it Edinburgh, you know, Manchester, Birmingham, anywhere, it's pretty tough if you're living in a very highly populated place in lockdown. And I think you're probably seeing that in the US as well. So places like Paws Up and anywhere like that are just rammed, and the rates for New Year and Christmas, I suspect, probably off the charts. But that's kind of what we're seeing at the moment. I think everyone's ready and willing, but we're just waiting for the borders and the pre-testing and the vaccine and all these other things together to sort of, you know, pull in line. And then I think everyone's ready to go.
I think so too. I think there'll be a huge demand. I think there'll be a giant wave of demand.
Yeah.
We've been hearing too that to let our clients know that if you have, especially if you have to rebook from 2020, to really start to think about it because of that reason, things are starting to fill up for.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, we probably moved 95% of our business from this year into next year. And when you consider that, I suspect in the first quarter of next year, the innovators amongst us will be ready to get on a plane and go at short notice. When we get into those key summer months, if people haven't thought ahead, they might find that the places they want to go to, either they're left with the entry-level rooms overlooking the things that they don't really want to overlook, or exactly, or they find themselves with a very compromised itinerary because they're just picking up what's left. So I think with the measures that we're putting in place and a lot of our vendors are putting in place, which is much more flexible cancellation policies and deposit policies and all those sorts of things, you'll be just as well to try and get something planned in and booked. And then if it can't go ahead, you're in the best of both worlds.
Absolutely. Janine, did we lose you? There
She's
she
back.
is.
She's back.
Okay. I hope you carried on.
Yeah, we did.
I started singing.
Was I like this?
And he did a little jig.
Yeah. Flip to Ireland for a little dance.
So I have worked with Dream Escape in the past, and I just have to say, so one experience that you helped me put together for a client was a private cruise on the Thames, and you were able to have the Tower Bridge opened for them to have a luncheon and to go to Greenwich. So that, I just wanted the people watching to know that's what the type of experience is. Like I have found that anything clients can dream of, you have been able to put together. But that leads me to ask, what is the most common request that you get? What experience?
Well, the interesting thing, the answer to that is that the strength in our business is driven by the people that we have, because we're not a sort of automated machine where we just churn out the same answer for every client. We've never run the same itinerary twice since we started the business. Wow. So everything, as you say, we are the absolute antidote to cookie cutter. So we have a blank piece of paper every time. But when people come to us and they request a trip, and 90% of our work is through amazing travel advisors like you guys, and really they start requesting people. So our head of guiding, Rosie, who's based in Edinburgh, and Sally Strange, who's based in London, when we get requests, they say, right, well, I want you to put this together, but we must have Sally or we must have Rosie. And the reason for that is that they are the glue that makes what is essentially a standardized, beautiful looking itinerary. They're the thing that makes it flexible, real. They make things happen along the way that you hadn't expected, that aren't on the things that aren't on the itinerary. They know everyone, and they look after kids. They look after our real high flyers, and that's the difference between a really good trip on paper and someone that you get to know and get on with and stay in touch with, in some instances for the rest of your life, because that's what happens. So that's our key kind of thing, which is, when you're dealing with us, it's all about the people that are involved in creating your holiday, which makes life easier. So if things do change and you need to move things on, you're going to speak to someone. It's not going to be an email or whatever. We're going to call you.
Yeah. So I'm going to jump right into the pictures that you shared, and we'll get to what we can get to. So they will help show some of the experiences that you have offered in the past. So I'll just open real quick, and we don't need that. So obviously this is just a beautiful picture.
It's a beautiful picture on the Isle of Skye, and it gives you a sense of the isolation, the wilderness, the reasons that people want this kind of break. Because if you're in a city and you've been in lockdown, this for you is literally a dreamscape. That's it.
It is amazing. It is. I have been to Scotland, but I've never been to the Isle of Skye.
Well, it's definitely worth going, and you'll get a feel that it's probably worth having a driver with you when you see some of those roads. But Yeah, this is just a selection. I mean, these are pictures of actually some of our kids in there doing various things, and the kids of other people who work within Dream Escape. And, you know, there are a whole range of things from Ireland to Scotland to, I think there's stuff in there from the lakes. So these are the sort of private things that we can slide into an itinerary on a daily basis. And like I say, if you show an interest in something that we didn't know about, even when you're in the country, we can add or change the itinerary. It is flexible. That's why we have a big group of people who are there to make it happen for you.
Right. So what's this fox hunting? Yeah,
so this is the sort of the hounds. There's Adair Manor in the background, not far from Shannon. And what we can arrange is on arrival, we turn up at the gate lodge as you come into the manor, and the gates open, and then about 300 yards down the lane, these hounds and the riders are waiting for you, and they then escort you to the reception, and they're, you know, running ahead of you, and it's just an amazing spectacle, to be honest with you, and it really takes people back. We've done it as a surprise for guests before, and what you can find is that the other people who are staying at the hotel come running out thinking that royalty have arrived.
Right. As it should be.
Yes, exactly.
That's awesome.
So this is more horseback riding.
Yeah, horseback riding, and this, you know, this can be in Ireland, this can be in England, this can be anywhere. We can arrange a whole range of different things for all sorts of ages and capabilities, from, you know, a very light hack to, you know, going out and really pushing it. And I think the thing is, you would have seen on one of the points that I wrote to you is that I think it's important, and I always encourage our kids to do this, is when you go on holiday, do something for the first time that you've not done before, because it's a really good memory marker for remembering certain things about a trip. If you've done it for the first time there, it really takes you back. And for me, those sorts of memories are things that make dinner party conversation far easier, because you can always join in when you're thinking about a whole range of different places you've visited around the world, and then a specific thing that you've done, and it triggers a whole range of sort of friendships and things to talk about.
Well, and people love to talk about their travel experiences. I mean, you are absolutely right. At any time, any place, it is a conversation starter. And I mean, I still have memories from years ago that I'm sure people are sick of hearing about.
Well, the bizarre, the funny thing that I've sort of realized over the last 20 odd years is that when you are speaking to people, and, you know, there's always the richest person in the room and this, that, and the other, but actually everyone migrates to the person who has the most interesting life, not the most houses and not the most cars or the newest car or this and the other. It's the person who's been places and can resonate with experiences. And, you know, you're the sort of person who's going to get invited to dinner parties because you're good at creating interest, you know. So, you know, it's fascinating how you see that work, because you can talk to anyone about anything if you've been to lots of different places and experienced lots of things. And it's not braggy. It's just, you should try this. You should go there. Why wouldn't you? You know. And
you can with people you probably have nothing else in common with.
Yeah, totally.
Even if you haven't been to the same places.
No, and more importantly, you know, and it happens in the US, it happens everywhere, really, the UK, is that people put you in a pigeonhole when they see what you're wearing, you know, and then suddenly when you start talking about things that pique their interest, you can see their head cock slightly, and they're like, that's interesting. I wasn't expecting that. And, you know, it's a very engaging thing because, like I say, it's a rich experience and things that you're obviously interested in and like talking about. And it's so far beyond just going on holiday and, you know, booking a fly drive. When you've done things that are different, you like to talk about it. It's as simple as that.
And share it with the world. This just happened at a dinner party a couple of weeks ago. We had just a handful of friends over, and they happened to bring up Africa, where my husband and I were last year. And I started talking about, because we went on this big conservation tour. And we learned so much about the animals. And exactly to your point was everyone was engaged, like everybody's staring at.
Yeah, because they're all in a nice way. They're sort of coveting the experience that you've had. I mean,
Right.
the number of requests that we get through from advisors, which goes along the lines of, you looked after the Levines last year, their friends, you know, and now want to come and do the exact itinerary. Same thing again. And the often answer is, I'm thrilled that they want to do the same itinerary, but it's really, unless they are a carbon copy of their friends, it's probably not the right thing in its entirety. But, you know, people talk about it. They show them the things that they've got, the experiences, the pictures, the whole thing. And it's the best selling tool ever, right? People who are happy, who go and tell their friends, and then they come back through.
So because you do offer so many unique experiences, how do you help people decide really what they want? Because sometimes people will come to us and say, this is what I want. And then as we start to talk through it, it's not really what they want.
Well, there's a bit of psychology in that space. And one of the most meaningful questions we ask, which is going to sound totally counterintuitive, is how can I ruin your holiday? Which is, you know, you can ask people 1,000 times, you know, how can I make your holiday great? But people generally have an inbuilt trigger to remember things that they disliked and things that really didn't fit. So if you ask someone, how can I ruin your holiday? They'll give you a quick, sharp list of the things that they really don't want. And as long as we can get those not included in the first draft, we know that we've not got it wrong.
Right.
It doesn't mean it can't be better, but, you know, and we might go through 1 or 2 or 3 revisions of it. But ultimately, if we can get rid of the things that we know are going to irk them in the first instance, you're pretty much halfway there, right?
Right. Absolutely. So I'm going to jump back to some pictures because, again, I really do want to share what you've shared with us, because it really. So where is this? Is this in the Lake District?
No, I'll tell you where that is. So Vanessa Branson, who Holly, my wife, who we own the business together, she recently, it's Richard Branson's sister, and Holly just recently did a podcast with her. She owns an island called Aileen Shona up in the north of Scotland. And as you do, obviously. And it has a main house on it, and then it has a whole range of cottages on it. And this is one of them, which is called Chirum. And the reason it's called Chirum is because in the background to the left of the cottage, you'll see a ruined castle, and that's called Chirum Castle. So this is Chirum Cottage, but they have other cottages. I think they have the old schoolhouse on the island, which is I think it's probably about a 30-minute walk down a small path, and it doesn't have any power, so it's all gas lamps. So everything that they put everything in there, people like Kate Winslet go and stay there and to reflect and hide out and, you know, that kind of thing. And it's just one of those really magical sort of places. And Vanessa started doing artist retreats, and Holly's very interested in art, and Holly's very interested in art, so they get on really well. And, you know, here we go. This is a slightly different place again, you know. So, you know, everyone's fully aware of Downton Abbey, and I think that it's still very popular. Holly's hopefully going to be speaking to Lady Carnarvon in the coming weeks, just having a chat with her. And, you know, we've done private visits there. We have a dialogue with the Carnarvons, and, you know, you can do pretty much whatever you want. As long as it's legal, ethical, and you give us enough time, we can generally make it happen.
That's amazing. So, because I was a Downton Abbey fan, is it a tour, or can you go and you have like a luncheon there, or what do you do?
I mean, depending on how much your clients would like to spend, we could pretty much arrange whatever you would like within the realms of availability and such like. But, you know, a private tour with Lady Carnarvon can be arranged, but it obviously is subject to her diary and how much time we've got to arrange it. But and that's true of pretty much anything within reason. You know, some of the things we've arranged have been pretty wowy, but we're equally very low key. We don't go around shouting about everything. I mean, you go from something like that down to, you know, graffiti tours in London, where you can go out with a graffiti artist who will take you to all these different places where they, you know, there's a difficult spot for teenagers when they've done all the young kids stuff and they're not quite in the adult space, and you've got to have things that keep them quite interested.
Right.
So these kind of tours can provide the bridge.
You have to go out and put in spray paint?
Yeah, they allow you. They have an area that they can use, so you can go out and actually create your own art during the course of the tour. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah. So I mean, it's difficult really, because you can, you know, we've always said you can pretty much have whatever you want. So and we've tried to retain that. We don't really want to put out stuff which is choose from menu A, B, C, or D. Because really the skill is in understanding the brief, and more than anything else is actually getting the brief correct in the first instance. If you get the brief correct, the natural program will flow out.
So the natural time to go would be the summer because of the weather, but it's crowded during the summer. So what is it like sort of in the shoulder season?
Well, the shoulder seasons are getting busy. I mean, this is the irony of the main topics of last year's conversation were over tourism. I mean, the irony of that this year is unbelievable. But generally, the core, if you would like, key months would be June through August for, you know, the UK broadly and Ireland. But we're seeing a huge number of people now just wanting to be on the shoulders. So March, April, May. And then, you know, September, October, and now even moving into November. But you need to be conscious of the clock change. So March 31st, everything changes. And then October 31st, everything changes again. So, you know, outside of those times, you've got to be clear on why you're traveling and what you want from it if the days are so much shorter.
Uh-oh, Janine. Okay, so Janine's
She's frozen in London.
Yeah, she is. She has absolute control. So tell me, what is the most outrageous request that you've had yet?
So we've for one client, we have built a Celtic village for them at Lismore Castle in Ireland. So in the steading, we built a, it was probably, we had 100 actors, 20 on horseback. We literally built from scratch a village for a family, a very affluent family who just love theatrical performances. We also built them a Viking village in York, and we did a recreation of a sort of Celtic village, if you like, up in Scotland as well. And for the same client, we've had them. We had Harry Potter actors come and join them at Alnwick Castle to teach them how to ride broomsticks. We then had barn owls flying in with envelopes to the kids. So, you know, it's pretty much there you go. So that was, there you are, it's at Alnwick Castle.
My goodness gracious.
So there's no sort of limit other than imagination in everything that you do, as long as you have the people on the ground that you can trust to do it. And I think that's how we've built our business, which is we're in country, on the ground, and we really have just recruited people with lots of experience and a very high attention to detail, because that's where the devil is, you know?
Absolutely. The smile on those kids' faces. That was amazing.
Yeah, they seem pretty happy.
I missed a big part. But
Uh-oh, we lost her again. There she is.
She's ordering. There, she's back. She's back.
Nope, she's gone. So we'll move on. So
okay, can you see me and hear me?
I can hear you, honey, but I can't.
I can do both. Yeah.
All right. Now we can. I can. Go ahead, Janine. or not?
I think there must be a flaky reception.
All right, I apologize
No, that's fine.
that I don't know what is going on, but I'm glad the two of you continue on.
Oh, we just keep going.
Absolutely.
You're both professionals. You're both
You know that famous phrase, never work with children and animals, but you just get used to having been surrounded by children and animals, which I am most of the time. You just get used to it.
Absolutely. And you just learn to fly, right?
Yeah, that's it. So it's Amy. I think it's me and you. I think Janine is suffering from some broadband outage.
I think so too.
like, something's up with my Wi-Fi, so I'm going to trust that was funny because I can't hear you.
Always.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, it's all right. It's okay. I got you.
Oh,
She can hear me.
Okay. So anyway, so I guess the question usually we say, how far in advance should people plan? But like you said, things are starting to fill up, but of course we don't know what will be happening.
Right.
But I think it's safe to say if people are interested in the end of 2021 and 2022 for sure, they should start to think about planning a trip, right?
Yeah, the majority of requests by volume that we're getting at the moment are for September onwards next year. But we have a huge amount of business on the book from March next year. And at the moment, everyone's holding fire. So, we're quite comfortable with that. But I think that there will be, some changes and some news in the next couple of months that will give people a bit more confidence. And in any market, there's always the innovators that go first. And I suspect that will be a case of just once it's open, people come. And we've seen that with Turkey. The borders open and then everyone went there, so.
Right. So before we go, how about your five top tips for visiting the UK?
5 top tips. Well, I wrote some of these down because you asked me just prior to it. So forgive me if I look off screen just slightly so I don't replicate. Give me a second. The top one is don't rush everything and skim the surface because you can always come back. People think that they need to sort of cover so much ground, do one-night stays, and they really don't immerse themselves enough. They just spend their time packing, unpacking, and trying to rush their way around. And I think it's really important that if you're going to spend time in a country, do it properly. Don't try and cover everything, which is closely followed by don't overschedule. People tend to want everything laid down, but you've got to give yourself some downtime because then you'll actually reflect upon what you're doing and realize that you're not in the office and you can slow down and it's okay. Take a nap in the afternoon and have a glass of wine at 3:30. That people have got to give themselves permission to step outside their normal routine, right? We encourage people to do their research because that should be part of the trip, right? It should be enjoying the build up and all the rest of it. Do your research and then ask our opinion and we'll tell you whether we think it's a good idea. And we're quite clear on that because clients often come to us and say, right, I want to do this. And I have to turn around to them and say, well, you don't want to do that. And I'll tell you why. And I'll give them 3 decent reasons as to why they don't want to do it and some alternatives. And generally, they're very happy. And often, bizarrely, it's a waste of money. You don't need to spend that money on that. Why don't you do this instead? It's greater value in this area. So it's like managing investments. Don't spend all your money on what you think is going to be great. I'll tell you what I know is going to be great and for less money. I touched on this earlier, which was do something new for the first time on your vacation. Do something that's going to give you a memory that really triggers your time there, rather than doing the same thing that you do everywhere else in the world. Try and make it something that's region, country specific, and something that you can talk about and your eyes light up about because it was the one time you did it, And I think the most important one is enjoy the planning process. I think that, I know it sounds, people try and squeeze this stuff in. People get very busy and then they schedule a time, they try and squeeze a time. I've got a 20-minute slot to talk about this and we've got to get it done and then yada, yada, yada. You only get I mean, most people only get 2 or 3 weeks off, 4 weeks off a year, right? And you should invest in that time. And, you probably spend more time looking for a set of shoes. And then, these decisions are pretty expensive holidays. And you're talking about a holiday for you, potentially your wife or your husband, your kids. And the kids are going to get psyched because it's maybe their only time across to the UK since they were born. So, spend some time to get it right. And don't worry if it's not right the first time. We revise things quite a few times, and we don't expect to get it right the first time because it's not a magic trick. It's a collaboration where we need to come back to you and say, I don't think you should do that. You need to come back to us and saying, I like that, but I don't like that. I'd like a bit more of this. So I think the journey from the beginning right through to the end of the trip, you should enjoy it. And that should be working with the right people, because ultimately that's what makes it enjoyable. Clicking and buying a book button for me is not really that much fun. And if things don't go the way you want them, you really need to pick up the phone to someone whose first name.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So those are great. And really, I feel like those can fit any vacation, really, because it's once in a lifetime. People forget that.
Yeah.
I always say, if there's something that you really want to do, don't take the cheap one.
I would concur. I mean, you can't have, you can never have everything, but it's the opportunity cost when you're in the country of not doing it right. If you've nickeled and dimed it from the beginning and then you get upset, it's too late. Pay for the things and pay for the advice, get it right, because you wouldn't go to a lawyer and then choose which advice to take. You ask them for their advice and you take it and you pay for it. And that should be the same with the amount of investment you put into travel, is my view.
Absolutely.
That's excellent. Well said. I might
steal that, David, just so you know, for my next newsletter.
There you go. Very good.
Travel article. But just so I think if 2020 has taught us anything, anyone with even the smallest amount of wanderlust in their heart, is that, oh my golly, if you're presented with an opportunity, go do it.
Yeah, sure. I think that's true.
It's going to change. You just never, ever know. And I think there's all this pent up wanderlust and travel need right now, that people truly want to get out and they want to experience and they want to dig deep into cultures and do everything. So I think that we're about to embark on a beautiful, beautiful sharing of this wonderful world that we live in.
I think so. And I think as well on that, I think that everyone is different. And I think that's a funny old thing. We have people who fly in business and first, and then they stay in entry-level rooms because they don't see the point, because they're asleep and they've got a busy schedule. And then we have people who stay in the top suites, yet they will only fly economy, even though they could fly private. So everyone comes in a different shape and size. So everyone feels that, we're a bit different, we're a bit peculiar, but everyone's different, right? So there is a vacation for everyone. Yeah.
Absolutely. You okay, Janine?
Stay with us, Jenny.
Uh-oh.
Absolutely. Thank you, David, so much for coming on. It was fun again.
No, you're welcome. Really welcome.
Thank you very, very much. We really, really appreciate it. Go ahead. Are you back now?
Yes. We'll say goodbye fast. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. And where can people find you, David? What are your social handles?
If you go to dreamescape.co.uk, you will find our website, but really you have to go through you guys. So reach out to Janine and Amy. We prefer by far dealing through travel advisors. And like I say, 95% of our work is through travel advisors, and that's the way we like it.
Excellent. Thank you.
That, by the way, thank you.
Okay. So thanks everybody for coming by, and don't forget to come back next week at 6 o'clock. And remember, if you're a Gen X or a young baby boomer woman who loves to travel, don't forget to join our private Facebook group, Women with Wanderlust Tribe. So thank you for stopping by Janine and Amy's Travel TV. We can't wait to get back out into the world, and we know brighter days are ahead. So until we can travel again, keep dreaming about travel and finding joy close to home. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Okay, bye now. Thank you for having me. Bye.